Poke Problems Podcast, episode 276, Back to Basics, Eggs. Well, hello.
Greetings.
I am Miss Silver,
And this is the Wolf Doctor.
and we'd like to welcome you to the podcast where we talk about delicious eggs and incubators.
Are you only going to eat them if they're worm bowls, Miss Silver, that hatch?
Wolf Doctor, don't call me out like this. You know I only eat Chancy.
Well, this week on our Back to Basics episode, we're going to talk about eggs.
Ooh, I do love eggs, and there are a lot of them in Pokemon Go.
Yeah, like in regular Pokemon games, you can hatch Pokemon from eggs. But in Pokemon Go, you have to use incubators. They don't sit in your party, as it were.
I still wonder where these eggs come from, just like in the real Pokemon game or the anime.
We'll talk about that later. We know where they come from in the game, at least. I don't know where they actually,
we?
like...
Where they come from.
Well, we know how you get them. We don't know where they come from, I guess. So, in Pokemon Go, you place eggs in incubators, and then your real-life, quote-unquote, movement hatches the eggs. The base amount of distance that you have to move the egg to hatch it varies, but you can tell based on the egg's color and listing. You do not know what will hatch out of the egg, but it varies by hatch distance and by event or season.
But
However,
you get a preview.
You get a preview. If you look at the egg in your egg list, which is in your Pokemon list, you swipe to the right to the eggs, it will show you which Pokemon can hatch and roughly how likely they are to hatch. So, Miss Silver, why would you hatch eggs other than, you can?
I hatch them because this is what you have to do. And also, there are some Pokemon that, as far as I can tell, you can only get from eggs.
That's right. Different Pokemon appear in eggs than appear in the wild or raids or whatnot. And some baby Pokemon, so far, it seems like, can only be hatched from eggs.
And from what I can also tell, the stats on the Pokemon that you hatch from eggs are just a little bit better overall than ones you might find randomly in the wild.
Yeah, the IVs are guaranteed to be at least 10 for any egg you hatch.
Ooh.
And also, 7-kilometer eggs count, like where they're from is where the egg is from. Now, that doesn't mean you can get regional Pokemon this way, but it means for trading purposes, an egg that you got from Germany counts as German, and for that distance. So we'll talk about how you get these eggs later. We'll talk about how you get these eggs next. Let's talk about that, Miss Silver. Why don't you read down the list of different egg types and what they can be?
Woo. So there's a couple different categories of the eggs. So there are the more regular eggs that you encounter more often by spinning Pokestops or gyms. And those come in different quantities like 2K eggs, 5K eggs, or 10K eggs.
Now, how do you tell them apart based on color and stuff, Miss Silver?
Well, the 2K eggs, they're white with green speckles, and you need to wander around for 2 kilometers to hatch those. I have no idea how far 2 kilometers is in miles.
It's so true.
And the 5K eggs are white with orange. You think those are orange?
I called them orange. What color do you call those?
I thought they were yellow. Oh, no.
Well, they're a yellow,
I don't know what color
kind
that
of
is.
color. Let's go with that. What about the 10-kilometer ones, Miss Silver?
Well, these are the best ones of all because they have purple speckles on them.
Now, they also make 5 and 10-kilometer eggs that are walk rewards. So every week, you know how you get a Monday reward for how far you've walked? If you've walked over 25 kilometers, you get an orange spotted egg or gold spotted egg. And if you've walked over 50 kilometers, you can get a purple spotted egg as well as the orange spotted egg. And those eggs, even though they look the same, as the ones you get from Pokestops and gyms, have different hatching creatures. So the different, people call it the egg pool.
Ooh.
That's a term you will hear. What Pokemon can be hatched. What about strange eggs, Ms. Silver?
Oh, the most exciting of all. The 12-kilometer eggs are white with red speckles. And those often hatch many rare Pokemon that you might not see all the time.
You can only get those by defeating a Team Rocket boss, Cliff, Arlo, and Sierra. They will give you an egg. If you battle Giovanni, you don't get an egg, which I was very confused about. It's because you get a really sweet Pokemon from Giovanni. The Pokemon that hatch are not shadow Pokemon, but they're quote-unquote bad boy Pokemon.
Or they might all be Volibee, depending on how your luck is.
Yes,
I don't know about you, Wolf Doctor, or Dino.
Seriously. There were certain Pokemon that exclusively you could only get this way. I think Salandit was originally, or I think maybe still, only hatchable from a quote-unquote red strange egg. Now Volibee has shown up in other places as well, though, as a research reward and things like that. But only certain creatures can be hatched from those eggs.
And Wolf Doctor, I do have to thank you for the female Salandit, because I've hatched a couple, but they've all been male. And if you want that Salazzle, it's got to be female.
I've ranted about this, how I just haven't had enough. I've hatched so many of those red eggs. Unlike Miss Silver, I like defeating Team Rocket. She wants to join. That's the difference between us, right? So I'm out there hatching red eggs right and left, and I've hatched so many Salandits, and only 2 of them have come out female.
That's it?
Out of 30 easily at this point.
Wow. I've only hatched a couple. And I'm curious, the other one I had to trade for, thanks Abdallah, was the Varoom, which currently says it's the most rare in the egg pool for the 12K eggs. Have you hatched any of those?
I have. I have.
The Wolf Doctor hatches everything.
I hatch a lot. I like to hatch. The last category of egg are these special eggs that are yellow and pink.
Ah, the friendship eggs.
The friendship eggs. And I didn't realize this until just today when we were researching for this podcast, that the eggs you get in the gifts from your friends, which will be have the same location of whatever the gift is from, have a different egg pool than the eggs you get with Mateo. So if you do a route and exchange a gift through the ether with Mateo, who basically pairs you up with a stranger.
Whoa, wait. We need to back up 1 second. Mateo can give you an egg?
That gift can have an egg in it, just like any other gift. He won't directly give you an egg, but if you have an open space, you can get an egg from that gift.
I didn't
think
of that.
And it has different Pokemon
What?
than the ones you get from your friends. Stranger gifts have weird Pokemon.
I want to know what gifts are in the friendship eggs from Mateo, because I'm not sure if I've ever gotten one, because I try and pay attention to when I open gifts to get eggs, and I usually try to pick friends from faraway regions.
Right. So he's making it even more difficult. You have to pay attention.
No. I didn't know.
Now, we talked about all these different kinds, but the amount of eggs you can store is up to 12. There's 9 spots in your regular storage. It's a dozen eggs, just like you buy at the store, Miss Silver.
You're right.
Regular storage holds 9 eggs, and there's no guarantee that opening a gift, if you have an opening in there, there's no guarantee that opening a gift will get you an egg or spinning a stop will get you an egg or whatnot. But any kind of egg can go in any of those 9 egg storage spaces. The only way to clear a storage space, so far at least, is to hatch an egg out of it. So once you hatch an egg, no, it's not like the dozen eggs you buy at the store that way, Ms. Silver.
Or drop them on the floor. Oops.
Nope, you can't transfer them to Professor Willow. You have to hatch them. So if you have an opening there, any egg that you can get through any of these methods, spinning stops and gyms, from walk rewards, from Team Rocket boss battles, from gifts from your friends or from Mateo, any of those eggs can go into an open spot in the 9.
I just thought of this now because you were talking about the only way to get rid of them. And I'm kind of sad that we can't trade eggs directly like in the mainline game. We could both have eggs and we could trade them with each other. So if I had all these excessive 12K eggs that I'm not running around enough to hatch. Maybe you might be able to.
Right.
That's an interesting difference.
Yes. No, that is different. We cannot change eggs to each other. There's a special bonus area storage for 3 eggs that way you only can get boss battle eggs, strange eggs, and walk reward eggs there. So you don't go to a boss battle and accidentally spin a stop and accidentally get an egg. And that was a problem early on.
It definitely was. I know that at some point in time I didn't fight Team Rocket because I was like, I need to get more space before I fight them so I can have a space to put that egg in.
Yeah, and that was a stumbling block. But now there's a special egg storage area. Those eggs do not shove down to the regular area if you open up a space there. So if you have 9 eggs in the regular storage and 3 eggs in the fancy storage, if you hatch an egg out of the regular storage, you don't like shift down and make more space in the special storage. You have to hatch those eggs kind of separately.
But Wolf Doctor, my bonus storage is almost full. What if I fight too many Team Rocket people?
Is that going to be your excuse now, Ms. Silver?
For not defeating Team Rocket.
So the real catch is not that you're not going to walk around and hatch these eggs. It's that you have to have incubators to hatch them. So eggs in your egg storage area don't just hatch when you walk around. You must place them in incubators. Ms. Silver, tell us about the 3 types of incubator.
Well, of course, you have your unlimited incubator that you just get for playing the game, and it will replenish itself every time you use it.
That's right. It has an infinite number of uses, and that's kind of the symbol it's got on it, is an infinite. It's orangish, I would have said.
Yeah, I'd say that.
You call that actually orange, not yellow?
That's orange.
Definitely orange. Okay.
We're going to have debates over the colors. It's like Ditto. Do you think Ditto is pink or purple?
Purple, isn't it? Some people say pink. I know. I know. Miss Silver, that's a topic for another time. We cannot talk about Ditto. That actually could be a separate topic at some point. What about the other kinds of incubators that you can?
Well, there are the regular incubators, which are less expensive. They act similar to your unlimited incubator, and you can purchase those individually or in packs. But the most coveted incubator of all is the super incubator, which is purple.
I think it's purple, like a super potion is purple.
Yes, there we go. It's not pink. It's
purple.
It's a dark, vibrant purple.
So the infinite incubator, you've always got. The regular and super incubators, you have to get them, and they only have 3 uses each, typically. You can buy them both from the store, individually or in bundles. You can earn them. Sometimes they're available as research rewards of some kind. Special research level up rewards often include incubators. But sometimes you can get them like if you get a special ticket. It's like part of a daily spin is a 1-use incubator. Yeah. They usually either have 3 uses or 1 use.
I'm not sure if I've seen any other ones. That sounds right.
And if you look at the incubators in your item listing, or like when you go to add something to the incubator, it shows you how many uses you should have left. So you'll know how many incubators you've used once or twice, and you'll know how many you have that you've never used. So you can distinguish between them. Typically, you want to use the ones that have less uses first just to get them out of your inventory. Now, super incubators are super because they reduce the hatch distance required. So essentially, once you put an egg in an incubator, if it's a regular incubator, it typically requires that you move the number of kilometers listed on that egg. And you can see it in the incubator and track its progress. It'll tell you how like you got a bar on the incubator showing you. If you click on it and look at the egg in the incubator, it will show you how far you go with a little more precision. In the super incubator, that reduces the distance to 2/3. So if you have a 10-kilometer egg, it'll show you once you put it in a super incubator that it has 6.7 kilometers to walk in total. Now there's ways to change that. Ms. Silver mentioned earlier on our last episode that special events sometimes have a hatch distance bonus. So sometimes it's a half hatch distance, sometimes it's a quarter, Ms. Silver.
And There is an important feature of this that
Very
you've
important.
reminded me about frequently, because I need to make sure not to mess this up when we have great days coming up, like Community Day, Makeup Weekend, or other events where you might have quarter hatch distance.
You have to put it in the incubator during the event. So if it's out and about already in the egg, that doesn't change the hatch distance. So yeah, this has happened to Miss Silver before. It will be Community Day and she'll be asking, why didn't my egg hatch distance change? So when you have those special event bonuses with reduced hatch distance, let's just say it's a half for now on that Community Day Miss Silver's talking about. If you don't put the egg in the incubator during the event with the hatch reduction bonus, you don't get that hatch reduction. And then if you do put it in during that event, even if you don't finish hatching that egg, that reduced distance remains, quote unquote, on the clock. On top of this, these effects do stack. So if you have a 2/3 distance super incubator and you put an egg into it during a half hatch distance Community Day, then you only have to walk it 1/3 the regular distance.
Ooh.
All right, so how to actually hatch an egg, Ms. Silver? Let's talk about that.
Well, you can just run around in circles around the block, trying to get as many kilometers as possible.
Yeah, so walking in place does count with Adventure Sync.
Walking in place?
So if you're on a treadmill, if you have your whatever device is doing the counting. So like I use Adventure Sync on my phone. So if I have my phone in my pocket and it's counting my steps, then it's also counting my steps in Pokemon Go. If you're actually moving around and you have Adventure Sync going and the game's not open, that still counts as well. So like if I go on a walk and I don't even open Pokemon Go, when I come back, I might have found that I've walked a couple kilometers with Adventure Sync.
Ooh.
And that distance counts for everything that distance normally counts for, like hatching eggs and earning buddy candy. Now, if you have the game open, whether or not you have Adventure Sync on, if you have the game open and it's reading your location through GPS, then that distance counts no matter how you're doing it, under a certain speed. If you get that warning, it's no longer counting.
I can't go drive 90 on the highway, trying to get as many miles off.
That does not count. So if you're walking around the park and you don't have a peripheral and you don't use Adventure Sync, if you've got your phone open, that distance counts. Now, it's not the exact distance you walk, right? It does a GPS kind of signal every once in a while to figure out where you are and kind of adds that up. It takes some time for it to roll into your game. It only updates how much you've walked. I'm not sure the exact refresh rate. Every time you reopen the game, after you close it and reopen it, it does seem to refresh, but it takes a little time to do that update. So it's not like you can watch it literally tick up just a little bit at a time every 50 feet or so, but it does update frequently.
Now, Wolf Doctor, in the beginning days when eggs were introduced in Pokemon Go, I remember seeing videos of people putting their phones on ceiling fans and having them spin in place to try and
on their
walk and
dogs
hatch
or
their
whatever.
eggs. Yeah.
I think if it moves enough, it can. There's also, if you have your game open, it also often, like your character moves a tiny bit and it adds up. So I know Professor Evergreen, at least with their old phone, they got a lot more extra walking.
He was
That didn't
drifting
really count.
everywhere. He would get so much walk distance just from drifting.
Yeah. So certain activities will not end up increasing your walked distance. If you're in a car and going fast, it won't count. If you have your game closed and it's smooth motion, like being on a bicycle or something or in a car, it also may not count. If you have the game open, it might count. It can miss things a lot. So there's no guarantees in life when it comes to Pokemon Go hatching.
This might be fun to experiment with the ideal way to hatch eggs, like how fast to drive in your car or to bike or skateboard.
Don't drive and play Pokemon Go at the same time.
I was assuming you were a passenger.
Yeah. If you're a passenger, like if you're on the bus, that's like prime time for Pokemon Go.
Yeah. And buses go like fast and slow. I feel like it might be just at that right pace to get all that hatch distance up.
I often find that when I'm on the bus, because if I'm on the bus, I'm playing Pokemon Go, of course.
What else are you going to do?
I do find that it doesn't tend to count all of that distance, but I get a little bit sometimes. So it's not perfect. So one thing that people ask sometimes is how many eggs can you be hatching at once? That's a matter of how many eggs you have and how many incubators you have and how many of your eggs you've placed into incubators. Ms. Silver, do you have a strategy for how you use your incubators?
Well, I don't have as many incubators as the wolf doctor does all the time, as I tend to spend my coins on clothing instead of smart things like the incubators. But I usually tend to use my regular incubator on the smaller eggs, like 2 or 5K eggs.
Your infinite.
My
incubator.
infinite, yes, my infinite one.
Unlimited power.
And I try and save my super incubators or extra incubators for events where you might have reduced hatch distance.
Oh, so you can hatch as many things as possible.
And especially save those for things like the 12K or 10K eggs.
Yeah, I treat myself to a lot of incubators. Miss Silver buys clothes. I buy incubators because I love hatching things. So I almost always allow myself to use a super incubator. As soon as I get a red egg, I put it in a super incubator. Ooh. I allow myself to do that. I use my infinite one for whatever the lowest denomination I have is. So if I've got a 2-kilometer egg, that's going in there. But sometimes during special events, especially if it's like a quarter hatch distance, I'll put a 5-kilometer egg in there.
Ooh.
Just to get, if it's only going to be a kilometer and a bit anyway, might as well get it hatched and get it out of there. Do you have a favorite egg type, Miss Silver?
Well, I think, of course, it has to be the 10K eggs, the purple ones.
Interesting.
Wolf Doctor, do you have a favorite one?
I would have said the red ones.
Oh.
The strange ones.
Strange eggs.
Especially when there's something new hatching out of strange eggs. Like when the Varooms came out. It's like, oh, of course, I want strange.
Which I've still never hatched one. I'll just stick with my traded one.
Man, Miss Silver, I've hatched a couple of them. That's something we did talk about before on our candy episode. That the eggs, you get candy from hatching eggs. And we can always go back to that one and play a clip. But essentially, the amount of candy seems to be dependent on the kind of Pokemon you're hatching, what hatch group it was in originally. It's not specific and knowable like an exact formula. It's more that people know from experience how many candies you get per egg.
One thing that I feel is key, especially if there's one of these special hatch egg distance reductions going on, is to try and monitor your eggs as much as possible, because sometimes things will hatch without you knowing it. Though the game is really good about setting a notification to your phone if you put notifications on, but just making sure to optimize making sure something is in an incubator at all times.
Yeah, if your infinite incubator works out and you have your game open, you'll see a little notification next to your profile picture in the bottom left that's like, there's nothing in here. You'll know. But yeah, I do constantly watch. My favorite is probably the red egg. My least favorites are the 5-kilometer eggs.
I also find those my least favorite
because they never have anything I want in them. The purple ones sometimes have unique and strange things in them, like depending on the egg pool. The 7-kilometer eggs, they tend to have like Galarian and Hisuian tends to be what they trend towards.
Different formies.
The formies. So if you've already got them, it's less exciting to hatch them. The things where I'm like, if I hatch this egg, I really want the candy, it's more likely to be a 10 or a 12. And the 2-kilometer eggs is where you often get babies.
And especially when they come out with the costumed baby Pokemon.
Oh my gosh,
Ooh.
Yes. Yeah, it depends. You can't always get a Pichu with the same hat as the Pikachu, but sometimes you can, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to Pokemon you've already hatched from eggs, that's a distinct feature that they feature in their assessment, like on their page. So it'll say that you hatched it. It'll show the same way it shows the kind of Pokeball you caught it in, it shows the kind of egg you hatched it out of.
I think that's just a fun feature because I always enjoy seeing little trivia about your Pokemon, like were you in a party with them or was there a special event going on? Yeah. And then you can see what kind of egg it came from.
I like that a lot. And it will tell you where you were when you hatched it. Ooh. And where you received the egg from.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. So if you have gift, this is how you'll know from the gift eggs where they come from. It says where you received it from, what day you received the egg, what day you hatched it, where you hatched it.
Well, Wolf Doctor, we've done a lot of talking about eggs and incubators, the different types of eggs, from the regular ones, 2, 5, and 10K eggs to all the special walk rewards, Team Rocket eggs, gift eggs, or even exchanging gifts with Mateo and getting an egg from one of those Pokestop gifts, which I want to check out what these special egg pools are, because I did not realize that either, especially because I don't think I've ever opened a gift and gotten an egg from a gift exchange with Mateo.
I don't think I have either.
This might be my next goal. Egg goals. I still want to know where all these eggs are coming from. Why are they coming off of Pokestops? Like, how does that make sense conceptually?
They kind of look like nests, and maybe Pokemon lay their eggs there?
I mean, I guess because Pokemon gather around the Pokestops, that's where they leave the eggs. But you can also do it at gyms, too, so it's like...
That's an even better place to leave it, in the stands.
Yes, that's right, in the stadium.
Well, one last thing I did want to mention, because I forgot about this one before, which is that there is a medal for hatching eggs.
Ooh.
So on your trainer profile, it's called Breeder. And to get to bronze, you need to have hatched 10. Silver is 100. Gold is 500. And platinum medal is hatching 2,500 eggs.
Wolf Doctor, is there a way to figure out how many eggs I've actually hatched? Is that on my profile?
It's on the medal itself will tell you.
Oh, no. I'm trying to find this medal now.
It's got a green egg on it.
Wolf Doctor, I've hatched 2,045 eggs. I'm scared to ask how many you have hatched.
Well over 4,000, Miss Silver.
What? Over 4,000?
More than double you have.
Over 3,000. Wow.
You haven't earned the platinum medal yet, Miss Silver.
I haven't. There's a little green dot and an empty symbol.
Oh, no. You have things to do.
I do enjoy how these eggs look like Yoshi eggs as well.
They do. I've always thought that. It's sort of like, wait a minute. That's not what this is supposed to be.
Does this mean that Yoshi is secretly a Pokemon?
Kind of. I mean, Yoshi could be a Pokemon. I've always thought that was reasonable to assume.
Could be. Well, we've done a lot of discussing about different egg things to do, ways to optimize your incubators. Wolf Doctor, if people wanted to learn more about this or listen to more about this podcast, what is the best place that they should go to?
Is that the Brog, Miss Silver?
I think it might be. Is there an address for this Brog?
I think it's pokeproblemspodcast.blogspot.com.
You got that right, Wolf Doctor.
Really?
Yes.
Dang.
This is why you're a doctor.
This must be it. It's putting all them brains to use.
Yes. She's also known as the Egg Doctor.
Egg Doctor.
I do wonder if Dr. Robotnik also collects Pokemon eggs since he kidnaps all sorts of
true.
wild animals.
He's really into eggs, isn't he?
He is. Strangely. Well, I think that's all we have to talk about for today. So I want to thank you for listening to the Poke Problems Podcast Back to Basics episode.
Yay!
Well, I am Ms. Silver.
And this is the Wolf Doctor.
And we're reminding you to game on!
Did you hatch Jonathan Marlin out of an egg?
You didn't know that he was a Mr. Mime? He learned to speak.
I thought he was more of a Jigglypuff.
He's going to sing us all to sleep.